Hello, it's Davey Mooney coming to you from the University of North Texas, where I run the jazz guitar program. Benedetto artist, Sunnyside Records artist. Got my Sunnyside CDs, and new one's coming out in January, y'all. I just can't quit this album making thing that I've been into. Really excited about it. Working on my new Mel Bay book on jazz phrasing. I'm actually on sabbatical currently to do all these projects, so I don't get back to this office that often. But I do have, finally, after 2 years of making these videos, I have a camera stand that I'm looking at, so the angle, I don't know, I think it's a little different, right? It might be up a little higher, but, it's important to get the camera above chin level, right? As the young kids say, you gotta get the jawline going on. But anyway, that's not what I want to talk to you all about today. I want to talk about a song that in English we call You Must Believe in Spring. There's a lot of spring songs, right? There's Might As Well Be Spring, Spring Can Really Hang You Up the Most, Spring Is Here, and many more, I'm sure. This song came to me through, I don't remember when I first heard it, but in the while I was in the Monk Institute in New Orleans, I got really into the maybe a little before this too, like the Jacques Demy movies from the 1960s. Great French director. I don't know if he's considered new wave, but he collaborated with Michel Legrand, great composer, pianist, on a couple movies or a series of movies, and some of them are kind of hard to track down. I remember back when Netflix used to actually send you DVDs in the mail. I got some of them, like Lola was kind of hard to find, and there's one where they're gambling, I forget, it's called Bay of something, but The Umbrellas of Cherbourg is like one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. Beautiful music. Hold on, I forgot to unplug the refrigerator. Oh well. These videos are live, as I always say, so it might be a little hum in the background for a minute. But that one features very prominently the song I Will Wait For You, And I remember I recorded that. So yeah, this must have been before the Monk Institute, because I recorded that in 2007 on an album called Astoriano before I did the Sunnyside thing. A really elaborate, like, solo guitar version of that. I pulled out all the stops on that one. And you can check it out. It's on all the streaming services. And then a couple of years later, there's a movie called, and I can't do French very well, so it's, pardon me, it's Les Demoiselles de Rochefort. It's like the young girls of Rochefort. And that very prominently features, this song. Which in the movie I think it's just Maxine's song or Maxence. I can't say the French names, but the English version with lyrics from the Bergmans, like Alan and Marilyn Bergman, is You Must Believe in Spring. And Bill Evans recorded it. Actually, has an album called You Must Believe in Spring. I believe it was released like right after he died, but recorded with Elliot Zygmunt and Eddie Gomez. I think that was the last record that trio did. And in that one, he plays it in the key of B minor, which is kind of how I learned it. Although it has a very sneaky modulation that I'll talk about in a second. But I was listening to the sort of the version from the film, and they're all over the place with keys. I think it starts in D minor. It starts in C minor, and then it just modulates way more kind of whimsically and frequently than the Bill Evans version does. And then probably the most devastating version is on the second Tony Bennett and Bill Evans album called Together Again, which is 76 or 77, right around the same time I think that Bill Evans recorded it. And Tony's up a half step, he's in D minor because he's got that high range. But man, that might be my favorite vocal performance of Tony Bennett. It's just you gotta check it out. It's really just devastating. I don't know any other way to put it. And I'll talk about this song in a second, but yeah, it's funny, like thinking back to how into these movies like are sort of designed to make you cry, especially the Umbrellas of Cherbourg. But I definitely went through this period artistically and emotionally when I was in the Monk Institute and back in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, where I really sort of leaned into the tortured artist. I was a bit tortured, and so I would really I would watch these movies and get all emotional. I would also like watch Stephen Sondheim musicals and really just go deep into that state of sadness and longing and all that. And that really informed my musical personality and my compositions. But I don't know how good it was for my life, but luckily I got out of that, and I'm a happy camper, especially since I'm on sabbatical. But anyway, if we do You Must Believe in Spring in Bill Evans key, so I hope you all like minor 2/5s. I know I've talked about those a bit, especially with Dreamsville, but this song is really like minor 2/5 fest. So you have C sharp minor 7 flat 5, whoops, F sharp 7, and then there's this interesting, it's kind of, to me it sounds like Bach, I guess, or it's a classical, I don't know the actual classical term for it, but basically you have C sharp minor 7 flat 5, F sharp 7, and then instead of going right to B minor, it's sort of like F sharp 7 over B minor for a second, then B minor. And this melody, I swear, like Tony Bennett sometimes, I'm not sure where he does it, but sometimes he goes instead of, I think. And then a 2/5 to D major, and it's that same thing where it's a major 2/5, but when before it goes to D major, you still have sort of A7 flat 9 over D. Is that an appoggiatura? No, I always want to guess appoggiatura, but appoggiatura is has to do with melody. So it's kind of a suspension. I don't know what you call it. 1/6/4? No. Somebody hopefully will enlighten me. Okay, and then and if you're soloing, you don't really have to think about the suspended thing. You could just do a 2 minor 2/5, E minor, then a 2/5 in D, then G sharp minor 7 flat 5, C sharp 7, F sharp minor 7 flat 5, B7, E minor 7, 2/5, A7 to D major, D major, G sharp 7 alter. That's what Bill Evans played. I think the original, they just kind of go down to a C sharp minor 7 flat 5 again, and then repeat that for sort of the second A. One of the things that Bill Evans does on the Tony Bennett version that's really nice is he goes, and then instead of going E minor, A7, D, they go G major, kind of D over F sharp, and E minor to A7, so a little walking bass. So you have this da, da, dee, da. As the melody goes up, the bass goes down, contrary motion, always sounds good. So, second A of the song. So I did the different melody notes. But here's the sneaky little modulation. So you go back to G sharp minor 7 flat 5. And then instead of going to F sharp here, you go G minor 7 flat 5, C7, and then all of a sudden you're up a half step. You've modulated up a half step, and you just don't really notice it. And then A7 altered instead of G sharp 7. So then the sort of third 8 bars, now you're up a half step. You're in D minor 7 flat 5. So it's a 2/5 to C minor, then 2/5 to E flat. And then you have the cycles on, this time it's on A minor 7 flat 5. minor 7 flat 5 D7, G minor 7 flat 5 C7, F minor 7 B flat 7, E flat major, A flat major 7 sharp 11. At the very end, D minor 7, G7, ends on C minor. And to get back to the top, you could do a little Jerome Kern, Johnny Green-ish, the Johnny Green who wrote Body and Soul, not that other Johnny Green. You could take the melody note, which is, the song ends on C, and kind of make that the third of G sharp 7 to get you back to C sharp minor 7 flat 5. But Bill Evans doesn't do that. He just kind of chills on the C minor and then goes right back to C sharp minor 7 flat 5, which I think is kind of cool too, because the way the modulations work in this tune, they aren't really prepared. And that's the way Bill Evans plays it, and with Tony Bennett, although like I said on that original, they just kind of modulate all over the place with that same material, like those two sections, you know. And then they'll just sort of move that in half steps all over the place. Must have been tough for the poor singers to keep switching by half step up and down. But it's a lot more, you know, because the song recurs throughout the movie too. It's sort of, you know, the theme of this character. And but yeah, actually, I just remembered I recorded this tune with John Pizzarelli on a duo record we did in 2006, I believe, and it didn't come out till 2009. But I remember going to his apartment and we talked about, you know, what tunes we were gonna do, and we wanted to do this one. I remember listening to that Tony Bennett version with him, just like marveling at the, you know, vocal performance. But yeah, and you know, playing on the song, it's pretty much like there's nothing unusual necessarily about the harmonies. It's minor 2/5s and major 2/5s. You just have to keep your place. And as I've been harping on in a lot of these videos, you know, when I play on a minor 2/5, like C sharp minor 7 flat 5, I don't really think of it from the root. I don't usually think of any chords from the root, but particularly with minor 2/5s, you can kind of see it in the way it looks on the guitar. I'll think like E minor to that F sharp, or I'll think like a major 7 sound, a tritone away, so I'll think like G major to F sharp 7. So that when you do that, you have a little kind of half step movement. And you know, I don't really prolong that 5 chord into the 1 chord. I don't really do the suspension when I'm soloing. But you know, when you have this part, when you have so when I have to go from G sharp minor 7 flat 5, C sharp 7 to G minor 7 flat 5, C7. It's a very chromatic harmony. I definitely try to go for the negative guide tones that I talk about in personalizing jazz vocabulary. So I try to find a common tone. Like, so for instance, if I'm on like a C7, C sharp 7, and I have to go to a G minor 7 flat 5, like the note C sharp is a good one, right? Or, you know, I can just move to a note that's a half step away or whatever. But sometimes the idea of having a common tone when you're modulating in such a like chromatic, gnarly kind of way. And when I was playing over the track, I had to remember it's easy to kind of forget where that chromatic modulation is and kind of throw yourself off. But anyway, y'all, I'm gonna play on the tune a little bit, but I would encourage you to, if you really want to, you know, kind of marinate in. I don't want to call it sentimentality, because it's not sentimental. Those movies, it's deeper than that. It's just serious, like longing and angst and kind of romantic Misery. Get the Umbrellas of Cherbourg. It's also such a beautiful visually movie. It's got Catherine Deneuve. Both of them have Catherine Deneuve. And the Young Girls of Rochefort. Man, go get you some Sondheim. Get you Sunday in the Park with George and Passion and all those depressing, beautiful works of art. And a lot of Bill Evans. That's kind of his vibe. Everybody digs Bill Evans. Doesn't have this song, but it kind of goes to that same place. I feel like the tortured romantic artist that I no longer am, if I ever was. But anyway, hope you enjoy it. You must believe in spring.